My name, the one people know me by now, is Aurelian Vance. But it wasn't always my name. Some names are given, and some are chosen when you're trying to leave your past behind. I chose mine. I used to live in a small town in West Virginia. Quiet place. Too quiet sometimes. The kind where every face feels familiar but no one really knows you. Or maybe they knew too much. That's why I left. Not for adventure, not for dreams, just to get away. And somehow that road led me to Yellowstone National Park. Getting the job as a ranger wasn't hard, not in the area I applied for. They call it the deep zones. Not official, not written anywhere, just something the staff says in a lower tone. Places far from tourists, no trails, no signs, only forests, caves, and land that feels untouched. Or maybe forgotten. My posting was in one of the most isolated sections, a small wooden cabin, no signal, no nearby station, just trees and silence. Endless silence. Before I left the main station, one senior ranger stopped me. He didn't smile, didn't even look relaxed. He just said, "Stick to your route. Don't explore too much, especially alone." I asked him why. He paused for a second, then said, "Some places here aren't meant to be understood." And that was it. No explanation. By the time I reached my cabin, the sun was already going down. The forest around me felt different. Not dangerous, just watching. That night I stood outside for a while. The sky was full of stars, clear, silent. But something felt off. No wind, no animal sounds, nothing. Just a kind of silence that felt heavy, like the forest was holding its breath. I went inside, locked the door, and turned on the dim yellow light. The cabin creaked a little, old wood settling into the cold. I told myself it was normal. Everything was normal. But before sleeping, I noticed something strange. Right outside my window, there was a narrow trail. I was sure it wasn't there when I arrived. I didn't go out to check. Not that night. I didn't sleep well that night. Not because of noise, but because of the lack of it. When I woke up, sunlight was already filtering through the trees. For a moment, everything felt normal again, almost peaceful. I stepped outside the cabin. Cold air, fresh, sharp, the kind that wakes you up instantly. And then I saw it. The trail. It was still there, a narrow path cutting through the forest, leading deeper into the trees. It looked old, but also freshly disturbed, like someone had walked through it recently. But that didn't make sense. There was no one else posted anywhere near my zone, no tourists, no other rangers. No one. I walked a little closer, just enough to take a better look. The ground was uneven, slightly pressed down in places. Not clear footprints, but something had passed through. Recently. I told myself it could be an animal. Deer, elk, maybe something bigger. This was Yellowstone after all. Still, something about that path didn't feel natural. It wasn't marked on my map, and in a place like this, everything important is usually marked. I stepped back. That warning from yesterday echoed in my mind. Don't explore too much, especially alone. So I turned away. The rest of the morning went into routine. Checking equipment, testing the radio, logging weather conditions. Normal ranger work. Predictable. Safe. But every few minutes, my eyes drifted back to the forest. To that trail. It felt like it was calling me. Not loudly, just quietly waiting. By afternoon, clouds started to gather. The light changed. Shadows grew longer. And the forest began to feel heavier again. That's when I realized something. The deeper parts of this place, they don't just look isolated. They feel isolated. Like the world outside doesn't exist anymore. I decided one thing that day. I would follow that trail. Not now, but soon. And for some reason, that decision didn't feel like mine. That afternoon, I finally opened the official zone map. Folded, worn, marked with routes, hazard zones, and restricted areas. Everything looked precise. Everything, except that trail. I spread the map across the wooden table inside the cabin, checked coordinates, cross-checked landmarks, the river bend, the rock formation behind my cabin, the ridge to the north. All of it matched perfectly. But the trail didn't exist. I stepped outside again, looked at it carefully this time. It wasn't just a random break in the forest. It had a direction, a purpose, like it led somewhere specific. I grabbed my radio and tried contacting the main station. Static. Only static. After a few tries, a voice finally broke through. "Ants, you copy?" "Yeah, I copy. This is Vance. Signal's weak. Keep it short." I hesitated, then asked, "Is there any unmarked trail near my outpost?" Silence. Then a reply. "Stick to mapped routes." That was it. No explanation, no curiosity, just a quiet dismissal. That didn't sit right with me. I spent the rest of the day walking the official perimeter, logging small things, broken branches, animal signs, temperature shifts, everything normal. Too normal. But every time I turned back toward the cabin, I could feel it again. That pull, that quiet presence behind the trees. By evening, I was back inside. The sky had turned gray. Clouds were thick now, heavy, like something was about to change. I looked at the map one more time before folding it, and for a moment, I thought I saw something. A faint line, where the trail should be, but when I blinked, it was gone. I didn't sleep easily that night. Days in the deep zones follow a pattern. Wake up, check the perimeter, log everything, repeat. By the third day, I had started settling into it. The silence didn't feel as heavy anymore. Or maybe I was just getting used to it. Mornings were the easiest. Soft light through the trees, cold air, a sense of clarity. It almost felt peaceful. I would step outside with my logbook, walk the same paths, check the same points. Everything predictable, except for one thing. That trail. It was always there, always the same, never changing. I stopped going near it, not because I was scared, but because I didn't have a reason to. At least, that's what I told myself. Around noon, I would return to the cabin, check equipment, try the radio again. Sometimes it worked, most times it didn't. The other rangers sounded distant, not just physically, emotionally, like they didn't want long conversations. Once I tried bringing it up again. "That unmarked trail. Stick to your assigned routes, Vance." Same tone, same answer. It started to feel like a rule that wasn't written down, but expected to be followed. Evenings were different. The forest changed. The light faded unevenly. Shadows stretched longer than they should, and the silence came back stronger. One evening I noticed something odd. Birds, or rather, the absence of them. For 3 days straight I hadn't seen a single bird near the trail, not one. Everywhere else there were signs of life, but that direction felt empty. I made a note of it, but I didn't investigate. Not yet. By the 4th day, the silence started to feel different again. Not louder, not quieter, just heavier. It's hard to explain. Silence isn't supposed to feel like something, but here, it did. I woke up earlier than usual that morning, before sunrise. Something had pulled me out of sleep. I sat there for a moment, listening. Nothing. No wind, no movement. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had heard something. Something subtle, something just outside awareness. I stepped outside. The sky was still dark blue, trees barely visible. And there it was again, that trail. For the first time, I felt something close to curiosity, not fear, not yet. I walked toward it, slowly, carefully, stopped right at the edge. The air felt colder there, not by much, but enough to notice. I crouched down and touched the ground, dry, undisturbed, but still, it felt like something passed through it often. I stood up and looked deeper into the forest. The trail disappeared into darkness, too quickly, too completely. That's when I realized something. The trees along that path were slightly different, taller, closer together, almost like they were hiding something. I stepped back, not because I wanted to, but because something inside me said, "Not yet." So I listened. By the 5th day, I stopped pretending. That trail wasn't normal, and I knew it. Everything about this place followed rules, marked paths, logged zones, clear boundaries. Except that. I spent most of the day trying to ignore it, focused on work, routine, anything to keep my mind occupied. But it didn't work. Every time I stepped outside, my eyes went back to it. By evening, the sky had turned darker than usual. Storm clouds, wind picking up slightly. The forest felt restless. I stood at the edge of the trail again. This time, longer, thinking. If it wasn't on the map, there had to be a reason. Either it wasn't important, or it wasn't supposed to be found. Both possibilities bothered me. I looked back at the cabin, small, isolated, safe. Then I looked ahead, into the trees, into the unknown. And for the first time since I got here, I made a real decision. Tomorrow, I would follow the trail. Not too far, just enough to understand what it was. That's all. At least, that's what I told myself. Next morning, I didn't hesitate. No second thoughts, no delay. I packed light, radio, flashlight, notebook, and a sidearm I hoped I wouldn't need. The forest looked normal. Too normal. I stood at the edge of the trail for a few seconds. Then, I stepped in. The difference was immediate. The air felt denser, colder. Behind me, my cabin was still visible, safe, familiar. Ahead, just trees. The trail wasn't clean, no clear footprints, but it guided me. Subtly, like it wanted me to follow. I walked slowly, counting steps, marking trees with small cuts, just in case. After 10 minutes, the sounds of the outside forest faded. No birds, no wind, nothing. Just my footsteps. I stopped, turned around. The cabin was gone from sight. Too soon. I checked my watch. Only 12 minutes had passed. That didn't feel right. I made a note of it, then kept going. By the time I decided to turn back, something felt off. I checked my watch again. 23 minutes. That meant I should be close to the cabin. Very close. But when I turned around, the path didn't look the same. Not dramatically different, just slightly wrong. The trees felt closer, the light dimmer. I started walking back faster. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, still nothing. No sign of the cabin, no sign of the outer forest. I stopped, forced myself to breathe slowly. "Stay calm," I whispered. I checked my markings, the cuts on the trees. They were there. But they didn't feel reassuring. They felt older. That didn't make sense. I had just made them. A cold thought crossed my mind. What if distance didn't work normally here? I shook it off immediately, focused, logical. After a few more minutes, I finally saw light ahead, brighter, warmer. I walked toward it, and suddenly, I was out, standing just a few feet from my cabin, like I had never gone far at all. I didn't feel relieved. I felt confused. That evening, I tried reporting it again. The radio crackled. Weak signal. "This is Vance. I need to log an irregular path anomaly." Silence. Then, "Define anomaly." I hesitated, then said it plainly. "Distance inconsistency, environmental shift, possible unmarked zone interference." A pause. Longer this time. Then the voice replied, "Stay within mapped routes." Same line, same tone. But this time there was something else. Before the signal cut off, I heard a faint second voice in the background. "He went in already?" Then static. I froze. They knew. Or at least, they expected it. That didn't sit right with me. I looked at the trail from my window. For the first time, it didn't feel random anymore. It felt intentional. By the 6th day, I started noticing patterns. Not obvious ones, subtle ones. The temperature near the trail dropped slightly every evening. The shadows stretched differently in that direction. And most importantly, time felt inconsistent. I tested it. Walked in again, short distance. 5 minutes in, 5 minutes out. According to my watch, 10 minutes passed. But sunlight had shifted more than it should have. Too much. I noted everything carefully. This wasn't random. This was structured, like the place followed a different set of rules. That thought stayed with me the entire day. By evening, I stood at the trail again. This time I didn't feel curiosity. I felt something else. Recognition. Like I was starting to understand it without actually knowing what it was. And that realization was far more unsettling. Tomorrow I would go deeper, further than before. And for the first time, I wasn't sure I should. The next morning I didn't prepare like before. No hesitation this time. I stepped onto the trail again. But today, I went further. Much further. The forest changed slowly. Trees grew taller, closer, blocking more light. After a while, it didn't feel like morning anymore. The air was colder, still. I checked my watch. Only 18 minutes had passed. That wasn't possible. I kept walking, and then I saw something. A rock formation. Strange, sharp edges, almost like an entrance, a cave. It wasn't marked on the map. Of course, it wasn't. I stood there for a long time, looking at it. The darkness inside felt different. Not empty. Deep. I didn't go in. Not yet. But before leaving, I noticed something near the entrance. Marks. Not animal. Not natural. Scratches. Long. Uneven. Like something had been dragged inside, or something had tried to come out. That night, everything changed. I woke up suddenly, no dream, no reason, just awake. And then I heard it. A sound. Faint, distant, like something dragging. I sat up slowly, listened carefully. It was coming from outside, from the forest, from the direction of the trail. I didn't move at first, just listened. The sound repeated, slow, heavy. Then it stopped. Silence again. But now, the silence felt different. Worse. I got up, walked to the window, looked outside. Nothing, just darkness. But for a second, I thought I saw movement. Low to the ground, too fast to understand. I stepped back immediately, locked the door tighter. and for the first time, I felt it clearly. Fear. I didn't wait for morning. I went back to the cave. The trail felt shorter this time, or maybe I just reached faster. The cave was still there, silent, waiting. But something had changed. The ground near the entrance was disturbed, fresh. I moved closer, and that's when I saw it. Inside the darkness, something moved. Not clearly, not fully, just a shape. Low, unnatural. Watching. I froze, didn't breathe. Then it moved again, a slow shift. And I saw its eyes. Not glowing, not bright, just there. Too still, too aware. I stepped back, slowly, didn't turn around, didn't run, and somehow it didn't follow. That night, the sound came again, but closer, much closer. Dragging, slow, heavy, right outside the cabin. I didn't move, didn't even breathe loudly. The sound stopped. Then, a pause. And something else. A soft tap on the wall. Once, then again. Like it was testing or listening. My heart was racing. I slowly reached for my flashlight, didn't turn it on. The tapping moved, from the wall to the window. I could feel it there, just outside. And then, nothing. Complete silence. But I knew one thing. It had found me. Morning came, but it didn't feel like relief. I stepped outside slowly. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Until I saw the wall near the window. There were marks. Long, deep. Same as the cave, same scratches. But these were fresh and higher, much higher, higher than any animal could reach. I stepped back, tried to stay logical, but logic wasn't working anymore. Then I noticed something else, on the ground, near the wall. A pattern. Not random, circular, like something had stood there for a long time, waiting, watching. And suddenly, I understood something. It didn't just come out of the cave, it followed the trail, the same trail. I chose to walk, and now, it knew where I lived. I didn't go back to the trail that day. Instead, I searched the cabin. Old drawers, locked compartments, dust-covered shelves. And then I found it. A metal box hidden under the floorboards. Inside, files. Old, yellowed, forgotten. Reports, logs, all from previous rangers. And every single one mentioned the same thing. Unmarked trail, time distortion, cave. My hands tightened. I kept reading. One line stood out. It doesn't hunt randomly. It follows awareness. I stopped. Follow awareness. Then it clicked. It didn't attack everyone, only those who noticed it, who followed the trail, who paid attention. Like me. Fear wasn't the problem anymore. Understanding was. If it followed awareness, then maybe it could be ignored or tricked. I made a plan. I would go back to the cave one last time, but this time, I wouldn't react. No fear, no curiosity, no acknowledgement. Just observe and leave. Simple. At least, in theory. The trail felt different, not heavier. Familiar, like it already knew I was coming. I reached the cave faster than ever, and this time, I didn't stop. I stood at the entrance, still, silent. And then, it appeared. slowly from the darkness. The same shape, low, unnatural, but clearer now. Long limbs, bent posture, skin that looked wrong. Its eyes fixed on me, waiting for a reaction, for fear, for anything. But I gave it nothing. I just stood there, calm, empty. Seconds passed. Then something changed. It moved back, slowly, like it was losing interest, like it needed something I wasn't giving. And then it disappeared into the darkness again. And this time, it didn't follow. I didn't stay another night. I packed everything, logged a final report, and left. The trail was still there, but I didn't look at it, not once. The forest felt lighter, like something had been released. Or maybe something had been left behind. At the main station, no one asked questions. They just nodded, like they already knew. One ranger looked at me and said, "You didn't react, did you?" I shook my head. He smiled slightly. Good. That was it. I left Yellowstone, started a new life, new place, new routine. And for a while, everything was normal, peaceful. No silence, no trail, no cave, nothing. Until one evening, I was walking home, and I noticed something. A narrow path between two buildings, not important, not unusual, but something about it felt familiar. I stopped, looked at it, and for a moment, I felt that same pull, that same quiet call. Then I remembered the rule: don't react. I turned away, walked home, and didn't look back. Because now I understood. Some things don't follow you. They wait for you to notice them again. And as long as you don't, you're free. If you made it to the end of this story, then you already understand one thing. Some paths don't exist on maps. They exist for those who choose to see them. And sometimes, the real danger isn't what's hiding in the dark. It's the moment you notice it. If this story made you feel that silence, that pull, that fear you couldn't explain, then don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because this wasn't just a story. It was a warning. And trust me, next time, you might not walk away.